I believe we should appreciate our democracy more. Even though it is a lot of things happening, we can still protest. We can still say it out loud that I don't like our government.
And democracy has developed, and I think that's why this emergency martial law has failed.
막걸리 같은 새끼, 소주 같은 새끼, 맥주 같은 새끼, 개새끼. 지금이라도 나가 이 새끼야.
As young women at university in 2025, why did you guys think it was important to do a play about media and political culture in South Korea in the 1980s? Why was that important to you? Why did you choose to do that?
First, I wasn't aware of the situation at first. Like, I wasn't interested that much. The news just stressed me out. And it came to the point that I should do something now. I can't stand it anymore. And I went out to protest with some of my friends. I did a couple of times. But I didn't feel powerful. Like, my voice wasn't being heard to anyone. So I just chose to do it in my own way. But I didn't know what to do. And she chose to do 보도지침. It's about media and politics, about the 80s. But the 80s government is really similar to our government, our current government. So I was like, oh, this is the one for me. So I just, it was such a well-timed choice. So I just decided to participate and dedicate my vacation to it.
What's happening now? Why did you go and there might be some people that don't know. Can you give some your view of what's happening at the moment in South Korea, and why, before we talk about the play, why was it important? What's happening right now? Why did you go to protest? How do you see the current situation?
As you know, the main event is martial law, the martial law in 2024. And I remember that one sentence that all press and publications are subject to the control of the martial law command. It means in Korean, 모든 언론과 출판은 계엄사의 통제를 받는다. Yeah, I thought this was similar to Korea in the 1980s. And I believe that the play press guidelines could represent our voice. So this is why I entered this performance.
It's interesting that you can address politics, not through politics, but through theatre and through art. That's a very interesting thing for me. Sometimes politics is protesting, but here, politics or opinions or raising your voice is art and expression.
Yeah. Like, sometimes instead of like saying something directly, you need to like make people like feel something, like through something else. So that was theater for us.
Tell us something about the play. Tell us about 보도지침. What is it? I mean, I watched it for the first time. I'd never heard of it. I sat and watched it for 2.5 hours. Loved it. What is this play? Tell us about it.
It is based on a true story. There was literally 보도지침. It is like a guideline, an instruction on public newspapers. It was in the 80s by 문화공보부. Government didn't want the articles that would possibly threaten the regime, so they like commanded it to like reduce the size of that article or just they cut it out so that the world wouldn't know about it.
Do not put it. Change it.
So it is called guidelines, but they were like really like recommendations, but it was just must follow rules. It is our parents' generation, so we hear a lot about it, that era, but we didn't experience it. So it is like far away, but not like I don't feel like it is like that far. It isn't past. It is like going on. It's like the same thing is happening again.
Right.
Like she said, history repeats itself, and I think our history is repeating them like more than ever. I really see the similarity between the two governments. It is almost like synchronized, how they control the media and how they like make people believe them.
Even some of the language in the play, which is that very sort of anti-communist 발갱이 type thing, that's been coming out again in the recent government. This play, 보도지침, it's a famous play. Like, you didn't write this play, but other people have been performing it. Do you know anything else about the play, how it's been performed, or?
Many university choose the play this time too, because we are university students, so we have to do something for our future or something for the world. There
is a lot of theater like clubs and like groups, but I think like half of them in South Korea chose to do this play this year. They were everywhere. So we were kind of worried that what if something we do is like literally the same with others. So we were kind of worried. How should we make this play different from others? So it was a kind of a concern because it was everywhere.
My friend said she saw one at Iwa as well. They were doing it there, so it was not that. Did you go and watch any others?
Oh yeah, we go. I went to the Ewha University to see this play, and that was so good because we are in women university. We are all women to play, and they changed the character's name to more female-y. So that was the last summer that I saw that play, and going through to prepare our play, I saw many difference and some similarity.
Most of the characters in the original are men, aren't they?
Yeah, like except for 여자. Yeah, 여자 is 여자, woman.
The play name is 여자. The role name is 여자.
And the 남자,
Yeah.
male, and every character except for 여자 is set as a male, and their name is also the male names, and we didn't change it to like more female-y. I think this is that's the thing that I really like about our version because we didn't like define the gender of characters. We didn't force actors to act masculine or strong. We didn't to change the character as a female. So you can say that it is like a gender-free or non-binary, but I want to stress that there wasn't a gender at all. So the actors could focus more on the characteristics, not defined by the sex of the character. So that is the thing they really like about it.
It's so interesting to know that so many different universities are doing this play. That it's being popular. That's not bad for you. That shows the popularity and you're doing the right thing. In the play, you've already talked about how friendships become strained because of politics. Friendships go apart because of politics. Can you say something about that? Does that still happen in 2025? Because that's a big part of the play. So how did you try to express this? And is it relevant in modern life still, or?
I mean, it can be because when the family gather together, there's a saying, don't talk political thing with your family. Yeah, it's true because mine too, because my grandma, can I say that?
She's probably not going to listen to it.
That's true, but my grandma is the fan of
I get it.
The Conservative Party.
this president kind of, and my uncle who lives with her is opposite to her, so they don't talk about political thing. When we start talk about political thing, it goes to a fight, so we don't talk about it, and I think that's pretty common, and it's global thing, not a Korean thing.
It's very common in Korea, I think, to not talk about politics with people.
Actually, my grandmother is also similar to yours because she believes every YouTuber who knows nothing about politics.
That's really scary.
Yeah, especially the older generation is kind of like that, and my uncle is also like the opposite. So, but for my family, they just ignore it. Like they don't fight about it, and they just like don't think about that part of their family. So it is also easy to ignore what is happening because you ignore the person in front of you, how they think, because they're different. It is easy to like forget.
I've heard some families, they still have like pictures of Park Chung-hee up and some harmonies and things like that. It's quite common. Not quite common, but some people do it.
Yeah.
Did doing this play affect your relationship with your parents? It might be no, but like you're doing their lifestyle, you're doing their time, their era. Also, this is my era. This is when I grew up with Latin and Malia back in the day. But did it affect your relationship with your parents or old people? Did it make you more empathetic? Did you talk to them or no?
I think, because it's really my parents' generation things, and my father actually went to some 집회
Protests?
protest. So he can make how to make a. So he knows
Molotov
how to
cocktail,
make
a soda bomb? Yeah.
sort of things.
Yeah.
So that 공유되는 것들이 makes our relationship more close.
Is it strange to think that your father knows how to make Molotov cocktails? That's
No, I think it is really cool. Really cool. I learned that too.
Sumin, Minjong, any thoughts about doing this and getting closer to that generation? Did it have any effect with your relatives or other people?
I learned 낭만 from my parents when they was a student of university. I heard that they drunk often, even they have to go class.
My parents didn't really told me about those stories, but I felt more connected to the older generations because we did this for 2 months and we kind of lived in it. So even though I didn't do the acting, I helped them do the acting, and I was kind of analyzing the script. So yeah, I was like resonated with that generation more than ever, and I kind of felt how it was like to live the 80s in South Korea.
I could see it through your acting. And I think it would be cool, this is a stupid idea, but if your parents had to do a play about your lives, about Gen Z lives or something, they might understand, if they had to wear the clothes and speak that and say, sabasa, michota, and all of these kind of
Oh
things.
my God.
Lucky Biki, it might bring, the closer that way.
Oh, can I talk one more?
There is no 보도지침.
Okay. I remember one thing. The power of the government in 1980s, because when I asked my mom about 광주 5.18 광주 운동, Mom, what did you do when the movement of Gwangju was going? Then my mom said, I didn't know what was 뭐가 광주에 무슨 일이 있었는지.
She didn't know what was happening.
What was happening. She really didn't know about it. So I thought, the power of government was so powerful and strongly. Yeah.
It's the power of information, isn't it? Because you were talking earlier about the power of YouTube today, influencing people's politics. And then it was the power of the government. There was only KBS, SBS. There was no other things.
Right.
Everybody believed it.
My mom was lived in Seoul.
And Chandawan would be on the television, on the news every time, and they wouldn't call him 대통령.
Yeah.
They would call him Kaka 대통령,
Yeah.
which sort of means almost close to emperor.
Yeah, like majesty.
Very different. Very different.
The other countries knew about Gwangju, but the people in Seoul and other regions, they didn't know anything about what is happening in our country. There was just the power of media and its control.
And so for those that don't know, it's very difficult to explain, but the Gwangju uprising, the Gwangju massacre, the Gwangju movement in Korean, it's normally 5.18, right? 5.18.
Yeah.
Koreans date it like that, May 18th. It's when people protested against the military coup d'etat. They wanted democracy after Park Chung-hee was assassinated by Kim Jae-gyu in 1979. They wanted 민주주의, democracy. And instead they got another military dictator. And so that was what people wanted. That was the Gwangju thing. Inside all of that, there's this kind of pan-mi nukim and anti-American involvement, all of those things happening. And it's not just control of media at that time, but there's like the movies, the sports, the sex, the 3S policies to distract people. Don't look at politics. Look at all of these fancy things.
Yeah.
Lots of lessons to learn from history. How did people... You said earlier, Soyun, that in Korea, people don't normally talk about politics.
Yeah.
It's not polite, right? So if people from outside Korea, if they look at Korea, they're going to think Koreans are talking about politics all day. There's, protest and news. That's what they think.
Yeah.
But generally on holidays or when you meet people, politics is kind of, don't talk about politics too much. You did a play about really deep politics and history. How did people react to it? So once they watched the play and afterwards, and what was the 반응이 어떻게 해요? What was the reaction from other people when they saw your play? Of course, they all clapped. But did you learn anything from their reactions?
For me, the people around me have similar opinions, so they all liked it. I don't have any close friends or family, like except for my grandmother. She didn't come to see the play, so I don't know about her opinion.
What is it with grandmothers? Nobody said the 할아버지. It's always the grandmothers.
Yeah, but everyone who came to see me and our play just liked it because it has had the same opinion as theirs. So they just really want to know how the people with other opinions would think about the play. So do you guys have any friends like that?
Actually, mine too. Actually, there is no one to have the opposite opinion with me.
You don't know any
to come,
conservatives. No.
to come to play. But there's when my uncle had really big interest of democracy or something. So he loved it. Actually, he really loved it, and while going back to the home, he chatted all of his compliment to my family. That they love it. I mean, I don't have much that people in my family, so I don't have that experience, like opposite opinion things.
Yeah, but there must have been at least one person who had different opinion, right? So I really hope that we could change like a little tiny bit of their thoughts, because it is university students and we all agreed to do this play, right? So they would know that we all had the same opinion, and it is a major opinion. So I really hope we could change a little bit of their minds.
My experience, sometimes some people are not always just left or right. They're sometimes in the middle or a bit 애매한, and they like this and this. It's very, you have extreme opinions. Sometimes people are a little bit like this, but it's good that you get compliments and that you do these things. Did it wake you up politically? Did it change your opinions about politics? Did it sort of open your mind to certain ideas about things? Doing this play, learning about things, did it change you? Or is it, no, it was just a play, now we're finished?
No. It reminds us, I think. We already know, but it reminds us to do, you have to do, how important to do the things. It reminds us. So we attend the protest this time with our flags, our club name flags.
The ending of the play, many characters do a soliloquy, a speech, a kind of like a conclusion. Can you tell me something about those closing speeches from you had a big one. The judge. Tell us something about the speeches, the closings, the messages.
It's not mine, but Jongbae, who is the chief of magazine character. I really loved her speech because there's a line that she said, "Our modern history is the history of slaughter," and I really touched about that sentence because we have to remind it how the government do and how we have to do if to do not happens again. So that was really touched, and she cried really good.
There was a lot of tears.
She's really good at crying, so that was so touched. And I am the judge in the play, so I have to keep focus, look
she need to keep the straight face every single time, and you had to stand.
I had to stand
for 2 hours.
I mean, they are all sat down, but I am the only one who stand up the whole time.
You have some good leg muscles now. I think,
So anyway, so I have to focus, but every time in her speech, I really try hard to do not tear myself. I really do struggle.
Yeah.
They're all recent histories, very recent,
Right.
less than 10 years. The Seoul is more than 10 years now, but
But your generation has grown up with the Seoul disaster, hundreds of school children.
We were in elementary students
At that time.
when it happened.
And you have to hear the voice messages in the radio and all the things like that. And then the Itaewon, where another couple of hundred people pass away at what should be a party. And then the COVID-19 pandemic, where you have to stay at home. I think people underestimate that it must be a very traumatic time for young Korean people to be growing up. And it's not just social media, it's not just gaslighting by news, it's like people around you, your generation, are dying in large numbers. It's quite sad.
Yeah. I mean, many of Koreans still remembered when what did you do? What did I do? When I saw the Sewol whole news, I remembered what I did.
Yeah,
And
me too.
Yeah, it is kind of traumatized experience things, but yeah. So we struggle all of that kind of things. So yeah. We have to think about it all the time and remember them to not happen again.
The play is set in the 80s, and it is about 80s government and 80s university students, but I don't believe that the play is only about those eras.
True.
Yeah, it is about our modern history too. It is written not in the 80s, like the author is still alive. And even though they're like from the surface, they're talking about the past history, but the meaning is not about how we used to be. It is like how we are now. So it is one of the things that is very important about the play.
It's quite brave and also quite sad that you say what you remember most, or from this conclusion, the line is, our history is a history of slaughter. Because many people will look at Korea and they will see a gukbong image, they will see this Hallyu, they will see these 멋진 오빠들 and K-pop and Jennie and things like this. But when you're doing it and you're trying to reflect something in art, you're doing this very dark, uncomfortable, not very nice. And the thing about it is, it's not about Japan or China or North Korea where you can say it's other people, it's those guys over there. It's like, no guys, it's us. I think that's why like Hangang's work was very powerful, because in her work, the monsters in Hangang is not like Jiuhak, it's not like zombies, Jigumori Hakyonen or Kingdom. Or, it's like other Korean people were doing this to us. And I feel that's kind of very powerful, to be able to look at your own country and go, this is bad.
Yeah, even though most of the lines are negative, but I don't think the play itself is that negative, because the ending was her line that, where are you guys gonna go now after all this? And also the last monologue was like, I believe. So it is kind of optimistic too. It like its views on future is optimistic. The idea I like is that the play is saying that nevertheless, like even though there were a lot of like terrible history, we improved, even though there was a lot of like slaughters and the media control. Like we achieved a lot of things. So there's like both sides of pros and cons. They're just showing the history literally, not like on one side. They just show what happened and what some people thought about it.
It's not trauma porn. It's not like making you really cry and uncomfortable. It's real, but it is positive. When I left the theatre, I felt uplifted, I felt motivated, I felt awake and alive, and let's do something. It wasn't there to gaslight you into fear. And so I completely agree with you. And I think when I was reading the program that you sent me in the interview, again, all in Korean, I was reading it quickly, but you said one of the lines that stuck out to you was the idea of sort of credo. Nevertheless, despite that.
That's really important, because there is a line at the first during the interview, 기자회견.
The first scene when the curtain was down.
And people are all using their smartphones,
taking
photos.
Right. And that is the scene about the interview about the two characters who revealing that 보도지침. And she said, I love Korea. I am not the person
You're,
who
like communist or
Oh,
something.
I am not a communist. I love Korea, and that's why I act, and it's really important part of the play. And that is why the play is a good play. We motivate that play motivate people, not just like just sad or like not like
Yeah,
that.
I
It is
agree.
not. The play is not criticizing South Korea. It is not saying that our history is terrible. Even though the play is dark and a lot of the scenes are negative, it doesn't mean that the ending and the whole message should be negative. The message is kind of like positive.
Hope.
Yeah, it is very hopeful, and like nevertheless we can do it. We can make our future better, even though a lot of things happened in the past.
I love that.
And I think someone has to present about this event. Is it right? This event, even if it is uncomfortable or terrible, and we are, and I think we are the someone. Yeah.
That's very brave. It's very brave. We don't have to stay on this question for very long, but in the 80s, if you criticize Korea, that means you're kind of like palgengi.
Yeah.
That was the thing. And it was very weird to see President Yoon talking about communists and things like this in 2025. It sounded like very old, dated language. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about, mate? Do you have any thoughts on this idea? It's very sensitive for you, so you don't have to say anything. Do you have any thoughts on this idea of communism or anti-communism or palgengi? Because it's a big part of Korea's 1980s, and it's coming back up again today. When I went to graduate school here in Korea, some of my professors, when we got to chapters on Karl Marx, they went, 이거 말고, and they just skipped it at graduate school. Yeah.
Because it was too sensitive.
Because they were very conservative Korean professors sometimes. So it's sabasa or kyobagyo. But as young people, do you have anything to say about this topic? Communism, anti-communism, how it works in Korea? You're wearing red.
I am wearing red.
It's okay. She wear the blue.
Yeah, we joke about it. But someone wear a red shirt, or if someone says I like red color, we joke about are you bargaining? But we generally have the same idea on it, so we don't really have a conflict like on how we think, because we mostly have the same opinion on it. Now
What's the opinion, Minzo?
that it is like not good because there's not a lot of people who support that communism these days, and mostly, at least in the Seoul Women's University, we have similar opinions, as I know. And there is a line in the play Kim Il-sung 만세, that I am not a communist, and I think that line is really to make people concentrate, to capture the moment. It is like, for example, saying the name of Voldemort out loud in Harry Potter instead of like saying you know who. That is to make the audience concentrate and shock them, to make them realize how sensitive it is.
To say the thing you're not meant to say.
Yeah.
And then it takes away the power from it almost.
Yeah, it is powerful.
It's powerful if you're not allowed to say it. Once you say it, then the power of it goes away. It's just some words. It doesn't mean anything, actually.
Actually, growing up, I learned the communism is the bad person. And when I go to the university, especially my major is journalism, and I learned the 정치 politics of Korea. Nowadays, I'm so confused about it. I can't choose the side, left or right. So I just think on my own, what can I do in this situation? Particularly the martial law. Yeah. So I don't know that the word communism is the bad word actually. Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
It is just the communism itself. The idea was like they made it to like how the communism like came in reality is the problem, not the idea itself.
Yeah.
And there's a saying that maybe Hannah Arendt has said that there is just two evil, more evil and less evil. So I think that is the idea she's talking about. Even though you choose the better side, it doesn't mean that is like the best.
Right.
That is why a lot of young students are confused in this situation. They don't know what to do, who to choose, and how to act. Even though they choose the better side, there is also a problem.
I think that's a very real problem for young people all over the world, that they're given two options and both options suck. Just one option sucks less. And you're right to say, Hannah Arendt, who put forward the idea that even if you vote for the lesser of two evils, do not forget that you voted for evil. So what do you do? Where is the choice? And South Korea has multiple parties. There are multiple parties that will come in the next election,
Right.
from the Jeonggi-dang down to the Jinbo-dang, and
Right.
they don't get much attention. And maybe sometimes if you vote, you won't win. But voting shouldn't be about winning.
Yeah.
It should be about, well, let's lose, but let's lose honestly. And I think maybe in my personal Hesok analysis in the last election, many people voted for what they didn't believe.
Yeah, to make the more evil lose.
But you still lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a difficult thing. But there's another chance coming up, which is the beauty of democracy.
Right.
You'll probably have another election very soon. And that's not something that will happen in China, or
Right.
North Korea, or Vietnam. We have Chinese students at Seoul Women's University.
Right.
They're lovely, and they sit like no, they are, and they come from a communist country, a country with one party, the Chinese Communist Party, and they talk about their ideas. We have students from Vietnam as well. So South Korea is doing well, I think, with its democracy.
I believe we should appreciate our democracy more. Even though it is a lot of things happening, we can still protest. We can still say it out loud that I don't like our government. And that is like the big part of the
Right.
democracy about honor. It is written in our law. It is in the first verse or something.
Here's the challenge for you. I'm going to be a gonde for 10 seconds and then we'll stop on this.
Okay.
It's very easy to criticize a government. It's harder to say, what should we do? What's the vision for the future? What kind of country do you want? Because it's your country and it's your future, and it's not about this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. Anybody can do that. It's about, well, what would be good? What do we want? Can we articulate a vision of the future? And that is very, very hard. But if you can do that, then maybe the future will happen. But it has to start with that idea. No pressure, guys. I want to ask you about this. Thank you, by the way, for speaking about communism. That's kind of dark and scary, but I'm very proud of you. Watching this play, you told me it was 2 hours. It was more like 2.5 hours.
It kind of like, yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting, so I was sat there in total for near enough 3 hours because I arrived early. And for 3 hours, no smartphones, no media, no screens, not even a screen, because if you go to the cinema, you're still watching digital things in high definition. Do you want to say something about the importance of theatre in modern life, getting away from screens, smartphones, connectivity? Do you have any thoughts about that? I thought it was beautiful. I loved it.
Thanks so much.
The line that represent our play is 연극은 시대의 정신적 희망이다. Yeah, drama is the spiritual hope of an era. The play was about politics, but also the play was about a play. So it is like a tribute to a theater art. And the theater, the purpose of theater is that you capture the audience. The audience don't have any smartphones. They are not distracted because it is like a black box. You just have to sit and watch even though you don't like it. If the play is bad, that is really
Sad things.
it is like kind of a torturous moment. But if the play is good, you make the audience concentrate more than any other medium. Even though the movie, let's say the movie is like the best thing ever, but there's not other distractions around you, so you can do other things. But the theater, you don't have anything.
In my case, I believe that the greatest charms of theater is its sense of presence, 현장감. And the emotion felt in a live performance are far more powerful than the contents of screen. 네. And that's why I think theater can deliver messages strongly. Yeah.
You breathe the same air, the actors and the staffs. You were in the same space.
Right.
And that is like a big thing. We recorded our play actually, but the video is not that good, like at all.
Yeah.
You can't feel anything in the video. You can feel the energy.
Right.
So only in the theater, only in the presence.
Of course, there's a limit in a theater. If the play's background is ocean, we can make ocean. But we can find out. The people who came to the play find out 창의력. Did I create the creativity of the 제작진 staff members. Yeah, I think it's the funny moments in theater.
And I think the play is a living thing. It's all different at every time. And we can communicate each other with audience. Like, I mean, I'm not talking to them. I mean,
But in the first scene, the line was, you guys can take a picture. Like they were saying something to the audience.
Breaking the fourth wall.
yeah.
Like the first one. I
And
love that
they
idea.
can be a part of the play. They really,
Taking
shot
a
a
photo.
video.
Yeah, people actually did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important part for the play, the theater, because the movie or the drama, the series is recorded. It's all the same. When you turn on, it doesn't matter at all. They all set the same. But in play, you can experience every different times, because while we do the play as an actor, I do every time certainly different.
Yeah.
So that is the most charming part of the play, I think.
What was the best night? What was the best bit? So you did like
the-
Thursday, Friday,
the-
Saturday
like-
to Sunday, Monday? What was the
Yeah,
best
when you came, it was the best. The fourth,
감사합니다.
it was like best.
So Yun, for you, what was the best night for you?
I mean, it's really hard to like choose because
Really? Surely you have to, normally if I do live concerts performances, I'm like, that was great, that one sucked. I know very deeply how I feel about them. You thought they were all great?
I mean,
Yeah.
I tried to like express. So it was like, I mean, okay, sorry. So it was really hard, especially this time. This play is more hard because I was a judge and professor, and in my real personality is not that way at all.
It is like the whole different side is like this and
The opposite. So I was trying to pretend more. So that is why I do hard to choose, because it can be different what I think and what they see. So I think that's the difficult part. But the one that you came was the best.
yeah, that is one of the reasons you were so impressed. We were like crazy that day.
You were probably taught that day, yeah. And I came to sit right at the front.
Yeah.
Yeah. People looked at me weird. When I chose which seat, I went right at the front. Please. They looked at me and they went like, what?
Actually, I saw you.
When I go to the cinema, like if you go to a concert, where do you want to sit? At the front.
Yeah,
You want to be
yeah,
at the
right
front.
in
If
the
you go to the
front.
theater, you want to be at the front. Guys, when I go to the cinema, I sit in the front row in the middle. And everyone goes to the back and like, I don't want to see other people. And I sit in the front row and it feels like my own movie. I'm watching it by myself. I can't see anyone else. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you accept the light first. You accept that like the vision like first,
Yeah.
then everyone.
Yeah, and you don't see anybody else, which I like. You're completely engaged in the movie, the drama, the concert. Because if you sit at the back, you can, what are they doing? And you're distracted all the time by
Right.
people.
That is kind of like a film of thing.
I hope nobody else does it. I want the front seat all the time. Please keep sitting at the back. Hayul, what was your favorite performance? Was there one that you were like?
4회차가 제일 4회차가 제일 좋았는데 4회차랑 5회차랑 근데 4회차는 약간 다들 텐션이 많이 올라와서 약간 가해진 감이 있었다면 막공은 너가 말해준 것처럼 대본이랑 가장 비슷하고 그 메시지를 전달하는데 가장 적합했던 것 같아가지고 막공이 처음 보는 사람에게나 이렇게 여러 번 본 사람에게도 가장 누구나 공감할 수 있는 그런 회차가 아니었나 해서 막공 대신 뭔가 이렇게 좀 더 재미가 있었던 거는 4회차이지 않을까. 조금 더 이런 재미있는 포인트들이 있었던 것 같아요.
Yeah.
And I did cry at 5. Only 5. In only 5.
Because it was the last time.
Fifth one. Yeah, one and only. That was my precious one.
Actors like really depends on
the
their
day?
yeah. So someday they do like this and someday they do like that. But in her case, she did every episode the same. So that is why I think she felt it like that.
And some days you depend on the audience and the energy, and some day your uncle is there or your grandfather. No, it is. And
That
you
is
get
really
kind of-
nervous.
Yeah, and it affects how you perform. And I think that's the beauty of theatre because it's always different.
Right.
And so sometimes it's harder to perform when the audience is small.
Yeah.
When the audience is big, you're like, we get this. It gives you more energy. When it's
Right.
smaller,
And if they react like if the house went down, we're like yes, that'd be success.
yeah.
There was like a funny part of a play in the third 장.
Third scene, third
yeah,
act.
yeah, third act.
Yeah.
There is a scene. 남자 is like 이 새끼들아.
Isn't there different sekis? There's like soju seki, makgeolli seki,
Yeah.
kanyang seki, or something like this. What's that line?
막걸리 같은 새끼, 소주 같은 새끼, 맥주 같은 새끼.
Can I say that?
You meant to say that.
개새끼. Right.
Sumit, one more time. From the start to finish.
One more time? Okay, okay.
Minjong, shut up. I want the official.
I would be like this.
Okay, I will act.
막걸리 같은 새끼, 소주 같은 새끼, 맥주 같은 새끼. 개새끼. 지금이라도 나가 이 새끼야. Yeah.
It's good. The Kaiseki made people laugh. You know,
Yeah.
it's simple. Isn't
I was so happy.
When they laugh, right?
it? Yeah.
There's also 정배's line where I imagined that if I came to university, I thought I could be a couple and I could drink a lot and maybe I could be an actor, but the reality is like
I was deceived
yeah,
too.
and next like he swears like swear words, so that was the most funny part one of them.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to swear and get emotions out
Yeah.
and do this, get that tap-tapan, that suffocated feeling out. Yeah.
The government was brutal as well, and people were too, I think. I mean, there's a police who tortured and like murdered citizen. So, yeah, the police committed torture and like violence with no guilt. They laugh, and so that government had the public institution, the police, that helps them. They have them. They have public institution to help them to control citizen, and that is the most important. That is one of the most important part to know about inappropriate democracy, I think. And as the time goes by, the 시민 정신, the citizenship
consciousness or something.
citizenship has developed and democracy has developed, and I think that's why this emergency martial law has failed. There is a police who denied their saying, and there is a citizen who came to the 국회, National Assembly, to stop all these things, and it is really important part, and I think that is that shows our Korea democracy has developed more than that 1980s, and I think it's really good to good to learn about our things, and we do protest as now as well. So I hope this situation can be end
Yeah, as soon
As
as
a-
possible.
as soon as possible as a good one.
I think it's important that democracy doesn't just mean voting. Democracy is a state of mind.
Yeah.
Democracy is saying, you can't hit me. You can't beat me. You're not allowed to do that. That's people like, sort of Kwon In-suk in the 80s and these people of the Minjung that said, nah, you can't do that. That awakening of the mind from Daejung to Minjung or something like this is so important. And now South Korean people have that mindset. Your generation have, no matter what goes on. when you talk about the police that used to hit people. I remember one day I wore jeans, 청바지, and then I also had a jean jacket. And my wife looked at me and said, 청청 말고. Because for her it was trauma of the 80s that secret police would wear 청청. They would wear double denim. And they would check people's bags when they came out of the subway. What books do you have, right? This kind of thing.
One of my lines in the play goes, "Sorry, I just love theater so much. I wish more people in Korea would watch plays." In Korea, 미안, 난 연극이 너무 좋아. 우리나라 사람들이 연극을 많이 봤으면 좋겠어. Although this was spoken by a character from the 1980s, but it is not different. It is not different to me. I hope more people watch plays too, and I hope that after seeing our play, students reflect on the political situation and their own perspectives on it. Because ultimately, we are the ones who will shape the future of Korea. Okay, that alone is enough for me. 개인적으로, previously, my major is journalism. Because my major is journalism, I'm interested to the society and people. So, yeah, 정치에도 관심이 없는 건 아닙니다.
Oh, she can be a politician.
But it is not that I will go. I am going to the 국회. Yeah.
What it can be.
National Assembly.
National Assembly, yeah.
I had this, I'll let, if you want to have some final words as well, please say it if you have more. But I had this idea, one of my students who is also a journalism major from Soliode, she said she wanted to get into journalism to change the world and become an activist. And I said to her, isn't that the problem with journalism? That people are very subjective with their journalism, and these people tell stories about this side and these people tell stories about this side, and when we watch baseball or football, they're very objective when they analyze the game. So even if they like this team or that team, they still can analyze the game afterwards and go, this team was much better today, this team was terrible, that was bad, and they analyze it very objectively in sport. But when we come to politics, we expect 한겨레 to say this and 통화일보 to say this, and it becomes very subjective. And I said to the student, maybe what we're missing is objective journalists that don't try to change the world, that just try to say, this is what happened. All humans have bias, it's natural, but I wonder if that activism, I'm not trying to criticize your major, but whether that we have it in sport, but we don't have it in politics, and that's weird. It should be the other way around, maybe.
That is really a good part.
감사합니다.
You asked before, we're easily criticized, but how should we act? I don't know the answer, but people don't react at all in the first place. So I learned that people tend to believe in the digital world that they believe that they know something and they are doing something if they just know about it. They feel like they're doing something and they are acting, but in the reality, they're just watching YouTubes and news. Yeah, it's they feel like they are involved and they feel like they are doing something and changing something, but they're not doing anything. So let's just start from the scratch. We have to do something. If you believe this, you just act. I don't know how to act, but act. Just start moving. I think that is the most important part in 2025, where everyone has a smartphone and everyone knows about everything, but a lot of people don't do about it. So, yeah.
They just retweet, share the stories, press the buttons, put emoticons. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Put down the smartphone.
You go out to the street or speak up. Not through the comments, but microphone or anything in reality, not in the like smartphones and recordings.
I think we should respect Sumin for sitting there with just paper in front of her. Where you guys all have your digital screen.
That is true.
Sumin, me and you, look at this. Yeah, we got the paper. We're 정이 친구.
Paper friends.
Yeah. Brilliant. Recommendations. I always ask my guests this question. Books, movies, songs, anything. It can be about politics. It can be Western, Korean. It doesn't matter. Give me 2 or 3 recommendations.
김광석.
It is kind of political.
What's your favorite Kim Kwang-seok song?
Our closing song, 그날이 오면. when that day comes. I think it shares the theme. It is kind of similar to like Blowing in the Wind. It is about democracy and hoping for the better future, and it really suited our like message. And yeah, I like her. I like him. I like his ideas. And he is kind of like an old soul. He represents the 80s and the 70s, like those hard times. He has everything in his lyrics. So I really recommend listening to him, some of his songs. There's a lot of like romantic love songs as well. You can feel the nostalgia of like 80s romance too.
Love Kim Kwang-sok. He was the first Korean musician that I learned to play their music. Things like that.
He also has a very nice voice.
Very nice voice, and he can do everything by himself. He doesn't need necessarily a band. He can sit there
Yeah.
with an acoustic guitar, and he can move people. Maybe you know this story, Min-jung, but I'll just tell you guys very quickly. When I first arrived in Korea, I worked in the Donghwa building in Gwanghwamun. And so this was 20년 전, right? 호랑이 담배 피던 시절. This was 20 years ago. And because it was in Gwanghwamun, there were protests every night, and I couldn't go home. Because the street was filled with protests, so I couldn't go home. And so I would say to my friends, well, let's go and drink. We found this bar, and it was called Hanel, and all it was a wooden door. And at that time, I had really long hair. Like I looked like kind of fat Jesus or something. And,
I can't imagine.
yeah, piercings. I had piercings as well. And it was just a wooden door. We went in, and there was a table like this with around 12 seats and an ajima in the middle. And they were all kind of like long-haired hippies, and they had tong guitars, acoustic guitars and whiskey. And they let us come in. And they would sit there and they would play Kim Kwang-sok songs all night. They would pass around the guitar and they would pass it to me. I'd play them some Jimi Hendrix or something. And I'd say, no, you have to play Kim Kwang-sok. So I learned the songs, and they would sing and they would cry and they would get drunk. And sometimes if a salaryman, like a businessman, tried to come in, they would say, yeah, they wouldn't let them in, but they let me in. It's interesting that I didn't know much about politics then. I didn't know anything about history, about Gwangju. I was really new, but they let me in and they taught me Kim Kwang-sok songs and things like that. So music is a beautiful way to learn culture.
I recommend the drama 응답하라 1988, as you know. If you want to feel the humanity of that area in 1980s, the drama is a good choice. Yeah.
Can't come up with nothing like Jenny by Jenny, because Jenny has come back.
Like Jenny, the title like Jenny.
I can come
I
up
prefer
with
extra L. I like the one with this.
with Deutsche.
Yeah, I like Mantra and extra L. I didn't like Love, Hangover, or Handlebars, or like Jenny. I'm flexing my knowledge here. One of my friends put my favorite guest on this podcast is Jenny. He's trying to manifest her for me as a guest. So you're helping.
Okay, Jenny like Jenny by Jenny.
Actually, I would like to recommend the song Still the Show. Love. the movie Elementor, which I like most. Okay.
That's good, yeah. Guys, 감사합니다. We're done. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Relax. It's cold in here, isn't it?
I'm freezing.
shivering.
It's better than being hot.